Part 1. Hurry up, Brett, his brother Peyton told his brother, holding his face as they drove. Dad is going to kill you, Peyton, said Brett. You realize they're probably going to suspend you for fighting, regardless of whose fault this was, and there's a good chance you're going to get kicked out of school since you're failing so many classes. I have to call him. Please don't. Just tell him I fell in the schoolyard. Don't ruin his trip or he'll flip, Peyton pleaded, holding ice on his face. I'll fess up when he gets home in a few weeks. You better, because I'm not taking the fall for you, said Brett. I've got enough issues of my own. Brett called his father and tried keeping it calm as his father was away on business in Europe. He didn't make a big deal of the situation, leaving out the fight, and listened to his father's instructions. Just get him to the dentist, his father told him. Please don't leave him in any pain like that. Okay, I got it, Dad. Brett drove his brother, who was in major pain, bleeding all over his clothes. I can handle this. Give them my insurance card. If they give you a hard time, you'll have to say you're me, because with work like this, he may need a parent to sign, said his father. You look so much older now with that damn beard anyway. I hate that thing, but it may be useful today. Call me later and give me an update on Peyton, okay? You got it, Dad, Brett responded. As they got to the dentist, they rushed Peyton in as he was in extreme pain and quite bloody. Brett filled out the form and handed the receptionist the forms, signing his father's name. He sat there waiting for over an hour until finally he was interrupted from reading a magazine. Hi, I'm Dr. Mullen. The dentist extended her hand to Brett, who was sitting in the waiting area. Everything is stable now. 10-year-olds sometimes panic a little when they see so much blood, but Peyton will be fine. Follow me, please, as I'd like to talk in private, and then I'll bring you to Peyton. Sure, said Brett with his tongue hanging out of his mouth. So this is awkward, but let me start by apologizing, said Dr. Mullen, handing Brett a bag. My regular assistant is out today and her fill-in is a disaster. Don't panic though, Peyton is fine, but my fill-in did not follow proper protocol and Peyton's shirt and pants are soaked in blood and some chemicals. Honestly, they're ruined. I hope you'll forgive us as I take great pride in customer satisfaction, so I sent my receptionist across the street and bought a new outfit. Really? Wow. Brett took the bag. That wasn't necessary. Of course it was. It was the least I could do, said Dr. Mullen. I know how hard it is these days financially on people, and I noticed on your chart that you're a single parent. That has to be hard, especially that you look so young to be a parent. Honestly, I really admire people like you. Doc, are you kidding? Said Brett. I admire people like you. Most people would have just sent us on our way with Peyton all soaked and not caring. That's so sweet of you to say, Mr. Murray. Dr. Mullen flicked her wrist. It's the least I could do. Thanks again. Brett eyed her up, smiling. You're obviously someone special. You know, stop me if I'm being too forward, and I realize I'm a few years older than you, but, said Dr. Mullen, looking him in the eyes and nervously sweeping her hair behind her ear. Would you want to have dinner tonight? Really? Replied a very shocked Brett. Sorry, was that too presumptuous? Dr. Mullen turned a little red. I'm sorry, forget it. A guy as good-looking as you must have a girlfriend. I'm sorry, I never do this. You just seem so nice, and I've been cooped up working so much lately. I'm sorry, forget I mentioned it. Let's go see Peyton. Relax, Doc, said Brett, grabbing her arm as she was ready to run out. I'd love that, but I'd have to make a few calls and get a sitter for Peyton. Oh, of course. I can help you there. Let me get my receptionist on the phone. Dr. Mullen picked up the phone. Hey Sydney, can you make a reservation for 2 at 6 p.m. tonight at the new steakhouse, and we'll need Francesca to watch a 10-year-old for me until after dinner. Tell her I'll call her in an hour and to be prepared to plan some fun activities, and it's on me. Sounds fantastic, said Brett, almost leaping out of his shoes following her. But that's too much to ask, Doc. I can try and find someone. It's nothing, and trust me, she's amazing with all this stuff. When my little nieces come to visit, they want me to have her plan their agenda and come with us. She knows all the activities the young kids like. And by the way, you can call me Mandy when we're not with the staff, okay? Dr. Mullen softly rubbed his arm as she walked past him. Let's go see Peyton, okay? Great, and of course call me Brett. Brett followed her down the hall. They walked into the room seeing Peyton passed out in the chair, drooling a touch with his head turned toward the dental sink with a thin tube hanging from his mouth. Brett was dying with excitement, barely thinking about Peyton. Okay, so Peyton will be out of it for a bit until the anesthesia wears off, and I can call my assistant to help you with anything you need, said Dr. Mullen, taking the little suction tube from his mouth. I'll give you some privacy so you can change her once the drooling has stopped. Change her? Brett asked, stunned, looking down realizing he had the bag in his hand. Yes, in the clothes we got you. They're in the bag you're holding, Dr. Mullen smiled at him. Did you want help with that? No, of course not, said Brett, glancing into the bag. Okay, well hopefully you like what my assistant picked out, but I know how funny kids her age can be, said Dr. Mullen, coming closer to him and taking the bag and looking into it as she softly touched his fingers. If you don't like it, we'll exchange it later, but we really should get her into some dry clothes before she wakes up. It's a little dressier than what she has on, but I figured that would work better for us for later. Sound good? I'm sure they're fine, said Brett as Mandy sexily bit her lip, looking at him. Good, then we'll give you two some privacy and just take a seat next to her until she wakes up after you change her. Mandy headed for the door. Your daughter will be fine, and I'm really looking forward to tonight. Me too, said Brett. I'll check on you in a half hour, said Mandy, smiling. One last word of advice. Have her keep her hair tied up next time you come, because these chairs we have with the plastic headrests just create a mass of sweaty tangles for our patients. I know how much they whine when you have to brush out all the knots. I took care of it for now while she was out because it was pretty knotty, and I wasn't sure if you were any good with hair. I had the same sandy brown fine hair when I was her age. It's pretty, but she could use a good trim with all those split ends she's got. See you in a bit. Brett practically couldn't breathe as she exited the room, stunned that he was about to go out with the sexiest dentist he had ever seen. He started emptying the bag, laughing to himself as he began changing his little brother. He's going to go berserk, Brett thought to himself, pulling off Peyton's socks and shoes. His jeans were pretty wet and he was actually soaked to his underwear. It was strange enough pulling off his nasty white briefs, but even stranger as he opened a package and lifted his brother's legs, sliding on some pink cotton panties. He lifted one ankle and then the other, rolling some soft cotton leggings over his ankles and then lifted under his back as he slid them up, snapping the waistband. He was nervous at first seeing the little bump in front from his privates, but quickly calmed down, holding up the flaring type long top which he figured would easily cover it. He sat his brother forward, seeing the side pony that Mandy had created on his head and giggled as he proceeded to slide on his top. They even got him shoes which were a little snug, but fit as he forced them on, and just sat back waiting for Peyton to wake up. I'm so groggy, said Peyton when he began to wake up. Everything is numb. Yeah, that was rough, but luckily you're okay, said Brett. That'll teach you to fight with older kids. Don't lecture me, bro, Peyton rubbed his eyes and noticed the ruffled cuff at the end of his sleeve. What the hell? Calm down and remember they think I'm Dad, said Brett. So just stay quiet and listen. You freaking soiled yourself and they gave you clothes. Don't get crazy as it's just temporary, but they thought you were a girl. Peyton can be a girl's name too, you know, and Dad has been dying for you to cut that hair forever. Are you nuts? Peyton answered, sitting up and getting a good look at his clothes now. No way, bro, get me out of this stuff. Relax, unless you want me telling Dad everything, said Brett. I'll call him right now if you want. You've got some big problems now, Peyton. Bigger than the clothes you're in. No shit, but get me out of here, said Peyton, starting to feel sensations in his body as he stood up. Peyton wobbled a little as he tried to stand up and sat right back down in the chair. He looked down, lifting his ankles and wiggled his toes, watching the little black lace bow on the toe of the patent leather black flats barely bend. On his legs were tight black soft leggings, and his matching black top ended in 2 rows of salmon pink thick lacy ruffles across his thighs. Around his waist, the top pinched just a little behind a small row of salmon pink sewed-in bows decorating his abdomen, and each sleeve ended in matching ruffled cuffs. He pinched his neck down, looking at the large glitter-filled pink heart at the center of the top on his chest, and then touched the side pony, seeing it move out of the corner of his eye. So how's my little friend Peyton doing? Said Dr. Mullen as she entered the room. I'm so happy to see you up, honey. You feeling better, dear? I'm feeling kind of strange, honestly, Peyton answered, looking ready to kill his brother as he glanced at him. But better, I guess. Well, sweetie, you'll feel more normal once the anesthesia wears off, but it could have been much worse, said Dr. Mullen, leaning over as Peyton was staring at her big boobs under her white dental jacket. The good news is you'll be just fine and back to normal soon. The bad news is you'll be seeing more of me as we'll need to schedule a follow-up, but it'll be painless, okay? Sure, I guess, Peyton replied, fixated on her boobs. Okay, well, rest for another 20 minutes and by then Francesca will be here and I'll introduce you to her. Dr. Mullen headed out the door. I'm sure you'll have a blast, and our reservation is all set, Brett. I'm really looking forward to it. What's that about? Asked Peyton as she left, looking at his brother. Well, I know it's nuts, but she asked me to dinner. She loved that I'm a young single parent raising my daughter and well, we just hit it off, said Brett. You're going to hang with her sitter while we go out for a bite. Like this? Yelled Peyton. No way, bro. Stop calling me that. I'm Dad right now, said Brett. You're doing it and I'm sure you'll give me no trouble. Not after all the trouble you're in, and no way am I passing up a date with a doctor this freaking hot. You blow any of this for me and I'll tell Dad the truth right now. Now start thinking like any other of those annoying girls in your class, because that's what you'll be for the next few hours. Deal with it. This is bullshit, said Peyton begrudgingly, as Peyton took out his cell phone. Fine. Stop. I said fine, Brett. They talked for another 10 minutes as Brett tried to get his brother into the right mindset, until finally Dr. Mullen returned with Francesca. Both Brett's and Peyton's eyes popped, seeing the extraordinarily hot teenager enter wearing stretched jeans, spiky ankle boots, and a tight t-shirt as she waved hello. So, this is Francesca, said Dr. Mullen. I'll let you two get acquainted, and I'm going to get out of here so I can freshen up and change, and I'll meet you at the restaurant, Brett. Have fun, Peyton. Sounds perfect, said Brett, quite excited now. Ready to have some fun? So what do you like to do, honey? Francesca asked as she walked right over to Peyton and gave him a hug. Shopping, crafts, baking? What are you into? Oh, I don't know, replied Peyton, having no idea how to answer. Whatever you think? Are you in cheer or gymnastics, or theater or anything? Francesca asked him. Give me a feel for what you like to do, honey. She's used to boy stuff unfortunately, living with me, Brett interrupted, trying to help him answer. But she's very easygoing, so whatever you think is fine. I was like that too, growing up with all brothers, said Francesca. Don't worry, I know exactly what it's like when you're just coming into your own as a young girl. I've got a lot of fun ideas for us that will help. Great, I really appreciate that, said Brett, giving Peyton a look. I'm sure she'll be just fine with you, and of course give you no trouble. No acting up, Peyton, and be a perfect young lady for Francesca. We'll be fine, said Francesca. Now go have fun and take good care of my friend. She could really use a night out. Will do, said Brett, happily leaving his brother behind. Peyton followed Francesca to her car, and the next thing he knew, they were at the mall. He followed her into the shopping mall and soon was holding outfits up against him and giving opinions as she took him everywhere. She was constantly texting everywhere they went, until finally he was more relaxed as they entered an arcade. They played games for a half an hour, and next thing he knew she was dragging him into a store filled with sparkly jewelry, cosmetics, and accessories. I never had any bling as a kid growing up with all boys. I assume it's like that for you? Francesca asked, grabbing a few things. Here, don't mind me, okay? Francesca was now taking item after item, seeing how they looked on Peyton as he just stood there. She tried different headbands and clips on his head, and then held some earrings up next to his ears. It was all too strange as bracelets went on and off his wrists, and the next thing he knew he was tasting a bubble-gum-flavored gloss as she lifted his chin without warning and coated his lips. You're a little young, but boys love this flavor. Trust me, Francesca stated, beginning to text like crazy again. It's clear, so your dad won't get mad. I'm not sure if he lets you wear any makeup yet. She then went to the counter paying for a basket full of accessories and paid as Peyton stood there. I'm going to have her wear these out, and can you cut the tag off this little bag, okay? Said Francesca. Of course, miss, said the sales clerk. Peyton's eyes widened, seeing Francesca slide a solid pink and a solid black Bengal bracelet over his wrist and then pull some little clip-on, shiny black teardrops earrings from the packaging. You bought all this for me? Said Peyton, feeling the first one clamp his ear. Yeah, but with Dr. Mullen's money, said Francesca. She's the best and she's so generous. They're really cute on you with your outfit, and they'll do until you work up the nerve to get your ears pierced. I was so scared to do it when I was your age too. I'm not scared of anything, Peyton replied as she slipped a pink and black lace ruffled scrunchie over his side pony. It's okay to be afraid. I was at your age, said Francesca, placing the strap of his shiny new black pocketbook on his shoulder. All in time, honey, but you'd be surprised how just a few accessories can make a difference. Come on, let's go get some dessert. Francesca now took Peyton into a bookstore and bought a number of teen fashion magazines. She sat with him having ice cream as they looked through magazines, and she was talking all about fashion and boys. She texted back and forth before finally they walked outside, meeting his brother and Dr. Mullen. So did you have fun with Francesca? Said his brother. Because I know we did. Brett, sighed Dr. Mullen as he planted a strong kiss on her, revolting his brother. She's an absolute doll, said Francesca. What time tomorrow, Dr. Mullen? Can you do 11, Francesca? Said Dr. Mullen. I took the whole day off and Brett and I have an amazing day planned. You do? Said Peyton, surprised. Yes, sweetie, said Dr. Mullen, bending down and giving him a hug. But don't worry, I intend to spend some time with you two real soon, okay? Plus, I've got some wonderful surprises for you. I'm sure you'll love them. Sure, 11 works, said Francesca. Peyton barely said a word until he got in his brother's car and they headed home. This is bullshit, Brett. Peyton pulled the scrunchie, releasing his hair. I'm not doing this again. No way, you jerk. You've got a pretty foul mouth for a little girl, his brother laughed. You're doing it again tomorrow, and if you don't like it, here's my phone. Call Dad and complain. I'll be happy to tell him everything about your grades, the fight, and I'll make sure I don't leave out a thing. Peyton was ready to kill him as they got home. Immediately he ran upstairs, slamming his door as he changed and played video games, trying to forget his day. In the morning, his brother flipped on the lights as he rolled over, annoyed at being woken up. Come on, my lovely little daughter, teased Brett. Time to rise and shine. Go brush your teeth and I'll help you get dressed. Are you kidding me? Said Peyton. You're wearing one of Dad's suits. We're going to her country club, Brett answered. Now here's some clean panties, and follow me as I've got your clothes downstairs. I've had it. No way, said Peyton, dialing his father. Hello, Peyton, said his father. Is everything okay? How are you feeling, son? Hi, Dad. Peyton answered, taking a big gulp and looking at his brother. Yes, everything is fine. I've been doing my homework and all is great. Just wanted to make sure you knew Brett took good care of me. See you soon. You know he never says much, Dad, said Brett. Don't worry about anything and see you in a few weeks. Bye. I hate you, said Peyton as his brother held out some white tights and he stepped into them. He was sick to his stomach, feeling Brett tug them up tightly and snap the waistband. He looked down as his brother was taking some white Mary Jane-type shoes, slipping them onto his feet and fastening the little buckle across each shoe. Arms up, said Brett as he wasted no time the second he lifted them, sliding his outfit over his head. Peyton was frozen in place while the soft material slid past his face, blocking his vision until finally he looked down, seeing the floral pattern when it finally slipped in place. He was shivering nervously as he felt the zipper slide up his back, and then his brother fastened the two little buttons at the top of his back. This is too extreme, Brett, Peyton pleaded. Please let me put on what I had on yesterday. You can't wear that again, and you have to be more dressy today, said Brett, tugging at the back of the dress. Now stop moving, this is my first time tying a big bow like this. Easy, that hurts. Peyton complained as his brother now began brushing his hair from behind. I can make my own ponytail. Shut up, I just watched a YouTube video on how to do this, said Brett. It's not tough, but just stand still. It just snaps in once you get it right. This is so out of control, replied Peyton, hearing a little click, and then his brother stepped out in front of him looking him. He looked down, staring at shiny little ivory white shoes below the flaring dress as he took his first steps walking towards the mirror. It was frustrating as he turned red, catching an initial glimpse of himself for the first time in a fancy little dress. As he moved his legs slightly, the 3/4 length floral print skirt shifted and swayed, exposing his legs in his white tights, not believing he was about to leave the house like this. The floral skirt consisted of wonderful violet and lilac flowers on a white background, and around his waist was a thick purple sash, which was tied at the back of his waist in a thick silk bow. Above the sash, the dress was a bright white with shiny short ruffled sleeves and a rounded collar, both of which were trimmed in the same purple silk as the sash. His hair had been brushed straight back off his forehead, and was held tightly in place with a metal barrette, which was covered in huge silk lilac and violet flowers as his hair hung loosely on his shoulders. They got in the car and stopped at the supermarket as Peyton was incredibly annoyed, following his brother in and having to being out in public like this. Just 1 second, said Brett, grabbing some gum and rummaging through the white bucket of cheap flowers. This thing is annoying the crap out of me, whined Peyton, tugging at the clip. Please let me take this out. It's too tight. Stop it. Hold these and let me see what I can do. Brett told him, handing him the flowers and pulling out the clip. You can't look like a wreck. This is like a frizzy disaster. Here, let me help, said a leggy blonde, stopping her shopping cart and taking the clip. Wife out or town? No. Single parent, answered Brett, feeling odd. Really, me too. I'm Jan, said the woman, holding out her hand. I've got a son about her age. Wow, I thought you were younger. Brett turned on the charm. Oh please, said Jan, playfully tapping his shoulder. Don't mind me, okay? It's a little naughty, so let me just fix it for you and it'll be much better. Oh, that's too much trouble, said Brett as she took a spray bottle from her purse and sprayed it into his hair as she brushed it. Peyton felt so embarrassed, smelling the floral-scented detangler dampening his hair as Jan brushed through it. He could feel her tugging and twisting, and before he knew it, she snapped in the clip again and was covering his eyes, hitting it with a little finish spray. Cute, right? Come on, I'll show you what to get, said Jan, as Brett followed as she loaded his arms. That was so nice of you, said Brett. Do you live around here? No, but I work across the street, said Jan, handing Brett her card. Listen, don't take this the wrong way, but she could really use a good haircut. I know it's tough for dads that don't know much about this stuff, but come see me and I'll take care of those dead ends. Really? That would be fantastic. Brett was excited. I'm there late tonight, and my hours are on my card, said Jan, taking it back and writing on the back of it. If you already have a different hairdresser for her, that's cool, but I wrote my cell on the back since we're both single parents. I was thinking maybe the kids could have a play date or whatever. That's so nice of you, said Brett, perking up big time. It was great meeting you, and I look forward to it. Me too, said January. Enjoy the flowers, sweetie. I love dads that buy their little girls flowers. Peyton was steaming as his brother paid for the items and they left the market. He could barely speak as he pulled down the vanity mirror, seeing how she had just neatly pulled it back behind, the clip adding a touch of poofy volume in front, and how it seemed so shiny and frizz-free unlike before. He sat quietly in the car with his brother as they stopped to pick up Dr. Mullen at her condo, and then Francesca at her parents' house. It made him even more sick as they gushed over how cute he looked, before finally they pulled up for lunch. He sat there on his best behavior, having lunch with Brett and the girls. They had a lovely soup and then salad as Peyton was mostly quiet, waiting for this to end as he sat there on his best behavior. So I hope you don't feel like we're moving too quickly, but last night was incredible, Dr. Mullen gushed. I was thinking we could spend some regular time together. Really? Said Brett, excited but trying to act cool. Of course, I would really love that, Mandy, but I am a single parent and my precious little thing over here comes first. Yeah, about that? Dr. Mullen grinned. So I thought I'd mention that I've made a few adjustments in my busy schedule, and it appears I'm going to have every Tuesday and Thursday afternoons available starting this week. I was wondering if you'd have any free time during those days. Oh, of course, said Brett, perking up. That would be great. Francesca could help out, I assume? I'm so sorry, Dr. Mullen, Francesca chimed in. I have class on Tuesday, and my other job on Thursdays. How much time would you need? Oh, I'd be fine, Peyton interrupted. I could just stay in my room and watch TV, or of course do homework. You are such a big girl, honey. I'm sure you could, said Dr. Mullen, smiling at him. Francesca, of course I know all those scheduling commitments you have, my dear, so I did make a few calls. Do me a favor, why don't you show Peyton the gardens? I'm sure she'd love that while we wait for our main course. It must be so boring for her here with us, and with all this grown-up talk. Sure, said Francesca, getting up. She took Peyton by the hand as he suspiciously looked back, seeing Dr. Mullen talking up a storm as he walked outside. So, I hope I'm not being too forward here, but when my nieces came last summer, I found some classes they loved while they were here, and I thought Peyton would benefit if we enrolled her, said Dr. Mullen, inching closer to him and taking his hand, rubbing it. I didn't want to say it in front of her in case you objected, but I took the liberty of investigating its availability, and they do have a Tuesday/Thursday class. What do you think? Really? That would fantastic. Brett was practically drooling. But wait. How expensive is it, and what are we talking here? It's not expensive, and I know I'm being forward, but I already put a hold on her spot if you say yes, said Dr. Mullen, looking right into his eyes. It's perfect for little girls. Well, you sure? Brett was leery. Is that a yes? Said Dr. Mullen, putting her arm around his neck as he nodded. Fantastic! Within moments, her tongue was inside his mouth as he would have signed up for his brother being sent to Siberia, as they made out. The second they broke the kiss, she took out her cell phone, dialing excitedly. Hey Tara. It's Dr. Mullen. Yes, we'll take that last slot. Dr. Mullen listened and confirmed the details. Oh really? Sure, I guess so. No problem. Everything okay? Whispered Brett. Yeah, it's fine, replied Dr. Mullen, still speaking. Sure, she's a newbie so that will work. Thank you, she'll be there, but I won't. Any issues call me at my office, but we'll have her there today. No problem. What was all that about? Said Brett. Just details. Dr. Mullen began texting. It's all set and paid for. Since she's a newbie and needs some additional training, she'll have some Saturday classes for the next few weeks as well. I figured it would be no problem for today for her, right? Sure, I guess not. Brett replied nervously. Trust me, I understand girls. She'll love it, said Dr. Mullen. Better than being dragged around with us. Just the one detail, and I hope you don't mind this. It's mostly 7- and 8-year-old girls in this class. I told a little white lie and said she was 8. I figured you'd like that better since I've seen how sensitive you are about her growing up so fast, and she'll be more at their skill level, just starting out. You sure about that? Asked Brett. Of course I am, honey. Dr. Mullen nibbled on his ear and then kissed him. I know she's a little immature and I know she wasn't too thrilled in the big girl dress today. I'll handle it. No, she loved it, said Brett. She's just used to more boy-type stuff, being with me. I know, and you don't have to say that. It's okay if she hates it. I'm not insulted at all. I understand, said Dr. Mullen. Don't worry, Francesca and I will help you. All girls her age need a woman's touch at times. Finally, after Peyton strolled through the boring country club gardens with Francesca flipping a few rocks, Francesca received a text and they came back, ready to have their meals. I'm sorry, Doc, said Francesca as they returned. She's a little wilder than I expected. It's fine, Dr. Mullen laughed. She's not used to being in white, I bet. Dr. Mullen took Brett to the ladies' room with Francesca and cleaned him up a little. He was a bit filthy for a girl, getting his hands dirty from throwing rocks and his dress a bit muddy after going into the gardens. It was odd being cleaned by 2 women and even stranger being in the ladies' room as other women came and left without issue. They returned, finishing their meal as Brett barely chewed, anxious to get out of there with Dr. Mullen. Say thank you, Peyton, said his brother, practically jumping from his chair. Check, please. Relax, my dear, said Dr. Mullen, smirking as she stood up. I have a tab here. Now let's get a move on, ladies. Francesca, we'll drop you and Peyton at the plaza so you can get her something clean to wear. We've got about a few hours before we need to get there anyway. Peyton was fuming inside as his brother could care less, thinking about nothing but Dr. Mullen. They quickly drove and dropped Francesca and Peyton at the large shopping center, and soon Peyton found himself shopping with Francesca as Brett and Mandy drove off. After being dragged into store after store with Francesca, who mostly tried on things for herself, finally she looked at her watch. Oh shit, cried Francesca, panicking when she realized the time. Better get you something cute, or she'll kill me. You mean we're not out shopping for you? Said Peyton, rolling his eyes as she dragged him out of the store. Very funny, silly girl. Maybe you can stay clean next time. Francesca again texted as they walked down a few stores. Now don't be a brat, because we've got to get moving as our car will be here soon. Looks like we're on a schedule, so we have to get you something now. Wait, Brett, my dad isn't coming for us, said Peyton. Not until later, honey, replied Francesca, hugging him and rubbing his shoulders. He's just a little tied up with Dr. Mullen, but he'll be picking you up after our next stop. Now, come on. This looks like a fancy little girl's store, whined Peyton as Francesca pulled open the door. Of course. You've got to look appropriate, and maybe learn not to wipe your dirty hands on a white dress, said Francesca, starting to rip things from the rack and holding them up. It's Dr. Mullen's money. Now let's go try these on. Are you kidding? You cleaned me up, didn't you? Peyton asked. I'm changing again? You're dressed for the country club, and you're still a bit of a mess, said Francesca. Now, come on. You can leave on your tights and shoes, and I'll just pull things on and off you quickly. Peyton was annoyed but cautious, turning his back to her as she raised and lowered dress after dress over his head. He looked down each time, but knew there was nothing visible under his fitted white tights, as Francesca critiqued and reviewed each outfit, testing his patience. I think we have a winner. Spin around for me again, Francesca told him, relieved it was over. Finally! Peyton complained as she jerked him around, fastening button after button in the back. Behave, you little brat, Francesca kissed his cheek and hugged him from behind. It wasn't easy. You looked so cute in quite a few of these. I'll be right back. It took him a moment, shaking off the feel of her big boobs against his body as she bent over behind him, changing the clip in his hair. As she stood up, she grabbed the other dresses and left the dressing room as he turned around, immediately getting aggravated, seeing himself in the floor-length mirror in his new dress. It all seemed crazy to him, feeling the itch of the puffy layers of ivory crinoline which rubbed against his legs in his white tights, as he twisted around, looking at himself. For the first time in his life, he was dressed in pink, as he stood there mesmerized that he was the little girl in the reflection. Unfortunately for him, it was not a dream as he felt the softness of the pale pink silk dress and lifted one of the delicate lace overlays. It was difficult to even see his feet when he looked straight down at the bell-type 3/4 length shiny silk skirt as he poked out his leg, seeing his ivory Mary Jane shoe was still there. The dress design seemed awfully elaborate and must have been expensive, he thought, as it was partially covered in intricate lace overlays, and puffed out dramatically under a few layers of white crinoline. At his waist was a large attached offset silk bow, and on top the dress was fitted and trim. The high rounded neckline was embellished with a layer of ruffled lace below the collar, and that same lace decorated the ends of the dress's short puffy sleeves. He reached his hand behind his back and instantly felt even more trapped, realizing there was no way he could undo some of the tiny buttons that ensured his stay in his new dainty dress. His shoulder blade length light brown hair still sat pulled back off his face on his back, but the old clip had been exchanged for a simple gold barrette that Francesca took from her pocketbook. Come on, cutie, said Francesca, smiling and taking him by the hand. I know I dragged you all over, but you've been a wonderful sport. You're really not used to looking this adorable. I can see it in your face. He walked out with Francesca as she stopped to sign the receipt at the counter and take 2 shopping bags. He was quite surprised seeing a black sedan outside. They got in and were driven off as he sat in the back with Francesca. Come on, we're here, sweetie, said Francesca as the driver opened the door and she got out with the bags. My dad's here? Peyton asked, surprised, looking up and seeing a kiddie hair-cutting studio. No, silly, your dad said to bring you here first, said Francesca, pulling him inside. We all discussed it and he said you're long overdue. He said this girl that works here is really good. It's a perfect time for a trim, sweetie, as once you get all those bad tangles, it's so tough to take care of and you don't want breakage. Hey Peyton, said a woman seeing him come in. I got your dad's message, and I'm so glad to see you, honey. Is he here? Hi, I'm Francesca, her sitter, said Francesca, extending her hand. He'll be picking her up later. What time should I text him to be here? Oh, there's no rush, but tell him like an hour or so. We don't have to rush, and I'm happy to squeeze her in. I'm Jan, by the way, said Jan, shaking hands. We can keep her occupied here without a problem until he gets here if you have to leave. Thanks, that would really help me out, said Francesca, looking at her watch. Yeah, he said she'd be fine with you. I don't need a haircut. I've been growing it for a few years, whined Peyton. Can we go, please, Francesca? It's nothing, honey, said January, just a trim, which of course we both know you need, remember? Now go run to the back and sit in my big girl chair, honey, while I talk to Francesca for a second. Peyton looked down, boiling inside as he walked to the back and sat in the large red chair, watching them chat and giggle. He was sick to his stomach, kicking up his feet in his white tights and pink dress, trying to figure out how to get out of this one. I'm sorry, Jan, but she can get moody, said Francesca. She kind of got up early today and got all dressed up for something she had no interest in being at. Then she got dirty and I had to change her, and then I dragged her all over shopping, so she's a little cranky. I think she'll be fine later, but she can test your patience at times. Oh, I've got a son like that, so I understand, Jan related. They forget they're the kids and we're the adults. It's funny you say that, because her dad and I just talked about that. Like any father, he's concerned about her trying to act older than she is and getting very bossy, said Francesca. When I take her places, I can see she gets annoyed easily and just struggles at some things that I think most girls her age don't. It can't be easy growing up without a female figure to guide her, said January, but you seem to have a good head on your shoulders for a young lady, Francesca. Thanks, I try. Francesca enjoyed the compliment. I picked the dress she's in now. Do you like it on her? It's absolutely adorable on her, just not with that hair, replied January. With it like that, she looks too old for it? She might be, but I think her dad wants her looking more her age, Francesca chuckled. And younger if it was up to him, I think. She'll be changing for class later, so don't kill yourself doing anything too fancy. It's just her dad wants her looking neat and appropriate when she shows up for the first time. Did he give you any restrictions or tell you anything he wanted? Asked January. No, he said you would know what was best, said Francesca. Okay, then let me just give her a trim and straighten out some of the mess she's got on that head. I won't get crazy, just something cute for now, said January. I can do neat and age-appropriate, no problem, especially with that cute dress. Sounds perfect, said Francesca. How old are these girls in her class? Said January. Like 7 and 8, said Francesca. Okay, got it. I actually thought she might be older than that, but I can tell she does lack maturity, said January. Okay, I got it from here. You're the best, said Francesca, hugging January. Okay, I'm going to run. I think she's in good hands. Jan walked back, seeing Peyton fidgeting in her chair with a sour look on his face. She tied a cape around his neck and pulled the clip from his hair. She leaned him back and switched on the water, gently shampooing and conditioning his hair. So I'm just going to make your hair pretty again, okay? Said Jan, drying it just a little with her towel. You excited about that? Not really, said Peyton, rolling his eyes and giving her a look as she combed through his wet hair. Just going with the flow. You know what, young lady, said Jan, annoyed, tossing the towel into his face. You need a little work on those manners. I understand now what they meant. You are getting a little big for your britches. Whatever, just get this over with, and me out of here, said Peyton. That's enough, little missy, said Jan, annoyed as she dialed her phone. She immediately reached Brett as he listened to her yelling and lecturing, and then handed the phone to Peyton. He slouched in his chair, nodding as Peyton was turning red, until he finally handed the phone back to Jan, who talked a little more with Brett and then finally put down the phone. So, I believe we're good now, Miss Peyton, said Jan, giving him a stern look. Yes, said Peyton, looking down with his tail between his legs. That's better. I'm happy to start over, dear. Jan twisted his wet hair on top of his head and pinned it with a large jaw clip. Stand up, young lady. She didn't waste a second, grabbing his hand and leading him back to her chair, and then the second he sat down, completely covered him in a long sheet and then also a plastic cape. She was humming to herself as he watched her remove the jaw clip, releasing his wet hair, and began brushing through it. She took the straight tail to her comb, creating a middle part in his hair, and began stretching and trimming the ends. It didn't seem too bad, he thought, as she was doing nothing but trimming small clippings until she walked in front of him, combing some of his hair straight in front of his eyes. I expect you'll be acting like a good little girl now, said January. Do we understand each other? Yes, said Peyton. Good, said Jan, combing through it again and again. Then let's bring you back to what your dad expects. That cute little girl in the pretty pink dress, okay? Okay, replied Peyton, nervously looking up at her through his wet hair. He could no longer see his reflection as she combed some loose strands between her fingers from temple to temple, and then began back combing at his crown as she held the front sections of hair. It was odd feeling the left to right part being created, before he was distracted by the cold sensation of metal, as a long straight silver clip slid through the hair right in front of his eyes and sat at the tip of his nose. She stretched the now pinned section forward and inserted another clip from the other direction now, before releasing the entire section as one, as the second clip sat right against his upper lip as he could almost taste the metal. He glanced down for a moment, distracted by the metallic shimmer as she placed her left hand against his forehead, leaning him down as he watched the long pinned sections slowly hang in unison away from his face as she tilted his head's angle towards the floor slightly. She returned her attention to the right side of his head, now combing the entire section before twisting and inserting a jaw clip, and then repeated it on the left, combing over and over. It was an odd yet soothing feeling, all the combing now without his normal tangles and knots tugging at him as he relaxed for a moment while she twisted and clamped on the other jaw clip. He assumed she was about to do something similar in front as she lifted the long clipped section away from his face until he quickly was startled by a snipping sound as he instantly raised his eye level, almost stunned watching her scissor slice off the long pinned lengths right between the two silver sectioning clips. He was about to speak as she stopped him, putting her hand under his jaw and stopping the slightest movement as he watched her toss the long snipped-off sections of his locks aside. Lift your chin for me, sweetie, and be still, Jan told him. A small tremble passed through his body now as she brushed through the remaining hair on his forehead, holding his face steady as the brush scraped his nose. He didn't want to believe what she was doing, feeling the outside of the long straight scissors slide across the bridge of his nose as she trimmed off the remaining length, which only momentarily covered his eyes. It happened so quickly yet seemed so precise as she ensured it was perfectly straight, as he felt some little strands slide down his cheeks. "Okay, open for me, sweetie," said Jan, inspecting her work as he opened his eyes. His fears were instantly realized as his vision was no longer obstructed in any way, nervously reaching his hand out from under the cape, touching his cheek to help relieve the itch of little stray hairs. She moved his hand away as she took her hairdryer, blowing the clippings from his face and cape as he watched them flutter off. She then dug a round brush against his forehead, hitting it with the hot air as she rolled it under a few times, spinning it, and then he was feeling faint when she moved to his left side, unblocking the mirror as he watched her remove the jaw clips on each side, blowing dry the rest of his hair straight. He sat there looking at his new meticulous straight bangs and loose straight hair on each side, stunned as she put down her dryer and brushed through the rest of his hair, making sure the middle part behind his bangs was absolutely perfect. "Tilt forward for me, honey," said Jan, pushing his chin towards his chest as he was happy to no longer stare at himself for a moment. He could then feel her parting the hair down the middle on the back of his head all the way down to the nape of his neck, brushing it over and over on the left. He then could feel the tension as she lifted and continued brushing as she stretched the thick section before gathering it in her left hand. "Okay, chin up, Peyton," mumbled Jan as he looked up at his reflection, seeing her remove a band she had clenched between her teeth. He almost couldn't believe what he was watching now as she wound in the band and then tugged at the ends of his hair, watching the band slide up slightly before she released it. He didn't know whether to scream or cry as he watched her brush the other side now, hypnotized by the slow swaying of the high loose pigtail behind his left ear. The second he slightly twitched, moving his face, she quickly stopped brushing the other side, instantly tucking his hair in her fist and wasted no time winding in the other band, as she knew he was getting fidgety. "Almost there, sweetie," Jan told him, giving his face a playful squeeze as he watched her lift a curling iron from its slot on her vanity. "Don't be nervous. I told you we won't be getting crazy today. All those knots are gone, and I just want to dress it up a little." There wasn't much he could do as she stretched its long plugged-in wire over his cape and lifted his left pigtail, pulling it taut away from his head as she soaked it in hairspray. He was helpless seeing her pinch open the iron's hinge and slide the barrel into place before he twitched, hearing it squeak as it closed. He could barely watch as she wound his entire pigtail as one, feeling the tension as it tugged against his scalp and sensing the heat as it was setting the curls sizzling near his ear. Any relief he got as she finally unwound it was replaced with agony as he watched his new tight sausage roll sway back and forth ever so slowly as she moved over on the other side now. She cracked a small smile checking her work before she held her palm over his eyes, saturating his head in hairspray as he instantly felt the stickiness as she circled him. He watched her unrolling and trimming some long ribbons from a few spools at her vanity and stepped in front of him with a handful of ribbons and her scissors. She seemed to be jumping back and forth on each side as he could feel the tugging and heard the sliding sound of the scissors, knowing this would not be good. Finally she stepped back and then fully unblocked his vision, as she walked behind him placing her hands on his shoulders. "You turned out so pretty, Peyton," said Jan, taking a scissor and sliding it along a few ribbons. He could see her making some fine adjustments, curling some of the ribbons, as this had to be some sort of nightmare, he thought to himself. It was still his face behind some little girl's hair as he couldn't believe what had happened, slightly relieved as Jan walked away for a second. For a moment he felt like getting up and running out, but she was back too quickly, putting her hands on his shoulders. "I think you look more your age now, honey," said January. "That rat's nest you had before was no good for a 7-year-old girl." "7? Are you kidding?" whined Peyton, snapping out of his trance. "Oh, I'm sorry, dear. 8, right?" Jan giggled. "I know you're a big girl. Okay, sit here. I almost forgot something. Your dad said I could give you a treat if you were good." Jan left and quickly came back, placing a weird device on her vanity. She lifted a small headrest behind Peyton's neck and then dipped his chair, leaning him back. Close your eyes, big girl. Consider this my little big girl treat, said January. Peyton was slightly confused, as she was moving his pigtails so they swung off the headrest of the chair. She tilted his head slightly on the left and was rubbing at his ear, until he almost jumped out of his chair, feeling the sharp quick prick on his left lobe. Jan, you didn't, yelped Peyton as she pushed him back as he tried sitting up. You can thank me later, honey. Patience, I'm only half done. Jan quickly did the right. I mentioned to your dad he needs to let you grow up a little, so I think we found a nice blend today, sweetie. I'll make him understand how much you wanted them, so it'll be fine when we talk. We all did at your age, but we're chicken to do it, just like you were. Don't worry, he won't be fighting me when he sees how pretty you've turned out today. Trust me, I can handle him. Peyton's eyes were bubbling with tears as Jan hugged him and pulled off her cape and long cloth. He instinctively touched the new little pink sparkly stones in his ear and twisted, watching the studs gleam in the mirror. He let out a few quick gasps, followed by some little whimpers and sobs as Jan handed him a tissue as he stood up. He approached her mirror, calming himself down as Jan held a mirror behind his head and he could see the backs of the posts, knowing it was no illusion as they protruded from the back of his lobes. I'll give you a minute, honey, said January. It's just natural to be this emotional when you're this excited. No doubt you're one of the prettiest little things for your age, sweetie. You're just adorable from head to toe now. Peyton watched her walk away in the reflection, feeling nothing but regret, thinking he should have run off when he had the chance. He knew he really had nowhere to go though, looking like he did now, as all he could see was a little girl staring back at him. His round face and button nose unfortunately did go well with his thick straight bangs, which stretched from temple to temple, and regrettably for him, the long hair he thought was cool was easily turned into pretty curl pigtails that swing daintily on each side. A thick fuchsia satin ribbon was tied in a large pink bow above each pigtail, and below the bow sat a series of tightly curled pale pink and white ribbons, looking almost like something that would be taped to a present. If all these girly frills on his head were not bad enough, it was even more evident that he was certain to be one of the girly girls wherever he was going today as he stepped back a few steps, getting the full effect of his hair combined with his pink dress. Come on, darling, Jan took Peyton in the back room. Come on, I'll introduce you to Johnny. Johnny? Asked Peyton, surprised. Hey Johnny, I've got a little friend for you, Jan brought him in. Honey, this is Peyton, and Peyton, this is my son Johnny. Maybe you two can play for a bit until her dad gets here, while I take care of some of my customers, okay? Sure, Mom, said Johnny, putting down his video game. Hi. Hi, said Peyton shyly, as he soon found himself alone with Johnny. What do you like to do? Asked Johnny. I like sports. I'm a baseball player. Oh, I don't know, said Peyton. You play your game, and I'll just watch, okay? How about a game of catch, said Johnny, picking up a ball and flipping it up and down. I'm awesome at baseball. Is that so? Said Peyton, rolling his eyes. Toss it. I'll flip it easy until I teach you to catch, okay? Said Johnny, putting on his baseball cap. Peyton froze, seeing the cap from one of his rival Little League teams, as Johnny underhanded the ball and it hit off his skirt and rolled to the floor. You have to move your hands, said Johnny, coming over and getting the ball. Oh, sorry, said Peyton, with an evil smirk. Let's try again. Sure, said Johnny, underhanding it as Peyton caught it and flipped it back with a little zip, hitting Johnny directly in the nose. You okay, Johnny? Said Peyton, coving his mouth to hide his laugh. You have to move your hands, right? Johnny raced out with a bloody nose and then returned with his mother and some ice. And no more ball playing inside, please. I hear you both need to work on catching though, said Jan, giving a little wink to Peyton. Here, you two play some video games, okay? They sat on the sofa, together playing video games as all was calm for 10 minutes. They were playing nicely, but Johnny was getting annoyed as Peyton was constantly beating him at his own games. And there goes your record, shouted Peyton, pumping his fist as Johnny got annoyed, shutting down the game. Hey, don't be a sore loser. Just leave. I hate you, said Johnny, throwing a tantrum as he got up and grabbed Peyton by a pigtail. Stop. Holy crap, that hurts, said Peyton, falling to the floor as John was yanking incredibly hard. Please, Johnny. Johnny, what the hell is wrong with you? Screamed his mother, running and hearing the screams, as he let go. I'm sorry. I lost it, said Johnny, calming down and dropping a handful of ripped ribbons. I'm so sorry, Peyton. She's a girl, you idiot, and you destroyed my work and ripped her dress, screamed his mother, helping him up and straightening Peyton's dress. Come on, sweetie, I'll fix you up, and your dad will be here any second. Jan gave her son a look to kill as she brought Peyton back out and sat him in her chair. She undid his destroyed left pigtail and brushed it into his palm before readying it and securing it tightly in place. She again redid the bows and ribbons, matching them perfectly, and then wound her curling iron into his hair until they heard a familiar voice. How's it going, Jan? Said Brett, walking towards them and kissing Jan on the cheek. I'm so sorry. I'm running a little late, but is Peyton ready? As soon as I can finish this curl, she is? Jan smeed, realizing Brett didn't recognize Peyton right away, as Jan unwound the iron carefully from his pigtail. She looks adorable, right? You happy I gave you back that little girl? Wow, muttered Brett, seeing his brother's reflection in the mirror as Jan cupped the curl in her palm and adjusted the ribbons. I can't even believe it. She's so adorable, right? Said Jan as Brett knew his brother must be boiling inside as Jan coated his head in some fragrant hairspray one last time and helped him out of his chair. Have fun today, sweetie. Thank you so much, said Brett, taking out his wallet. I can't take that, Jan stopped him. It was my pleasure. Johnny, come say goodbye to Peyton, honey. Johnny came running out of the back room and shyly waved goodbye to Peyton. Wait, one quick picture of you two, okay, said Jan, holding out her cell. Come on, get closer you two. Mom, whined Johnny as Peyton was even more embarrassed as his mother gave him a look. Say cheese, you two, said Jan as Johnny rolled his eyes. Fine, replied Johnny, planting a kiss on Peyton's cheek and then giving him a hug as Jan snapped away. That's better, you two, Jan smiled as Brett tried keeping in his laughter. Brett, can I have a quick word in private please? Sure, replied Brett as they walked a few steps away. They talked for a few minutes, both smiling and nodding before Brett returned, taking Peyton by the hand and leading him outside. So before you say a word, said Brett, I had no idea. How did you let her? OMG, she looks gorgeous, and you got your ears pierced. What a nice surprise, honey, said Dr. Mullen, interrupting as she came running out of the car and grabbing both of his hands. Peyton, what a dress you picked, honey, and the bangs are adorable on you. Francesca picked this, Peyton replied annoyed as she hugged him. Oh please sweetie, obviously you've got great taste, said Dr. Mullen, leaning back and looking him up and down. Now I think your father will be pleased, because you do look more age-appropriate now, but there's nothing wrong with little girls looking more mature every once in a while, like you did earlier. But I have to admit, you in pigtails and a dress like that couldn't be more perfect. She looks so precious. Don't you think, Brett? Oh yes, of course, Brett answered her, trying not to laugh. This day has been filled with pleasant surprises. Now let's get going, because I think you're really going to enjoy the rest of the day, sweetie. Dr. Mullen gave Brett a huge smile and walked Peyton to the car. Chapter 2. Dr. Mullen opened the back door of Brett's car, and Peyton, already disgusted beyond belief, got even more annoyed seeing the little booster chair. "I thought it would be safer for you, honey," said Dr. Mullen, buckling him in as he was already ready to kill his brother. "I know your dad says you hate them, but I took this from my car from when my nieces come for their visit." Peyton sat with his arms folded until they arrived as they pulled into a large crowded shopping plaza with loads of stores. "Brett, honey, I'll take her in and get everything settled," said Dr. Mullen, leaning over and giving him a soft kiss. "I think it's better you wait here, because I can see a little separation anxiety going on." "You know best, Mandy," said Brett, returning the kiss. "I'll call and confirm our dinner reservation." "More shopping?" asked Peyton as he got out and Dr. Mullen took his hand. "I'm changing again?" "That's what girls do, sweetie," Dr. Mullen replied as he stopped dead in his tracks, seeing the sign on the door as she turned, grabbing the handle. "You're kidding me, right?" Peyton was stunned, seeing the sign on the door reading Future Stars Dance Academy. "Come on, this will be fun," Dr. Mullen dragged him in. "Please no." Peyton was terrified, seeing nothing but mothers sitting around chatting. "I can't dance." "Sure you can, sweetie." A woman hugged Dr. Mullen. "So this must be little Peyton. Aren't you just an adorable little princess?" "Looks can be deceiving, Tara." Dr. Mullen hugged him. "She's more used to being a tomboy, but we're working on that, right, Peyton?" "It's no problem, and I deal with that all the time," said Tara. "They all come in so nervous, and after some initial training, they're fine." "Where's your new boyfriend, Mandy?" "I left him in the car," Dr. Mullen replied, signing some forms on a clipboard. "I was afraid she'd be too clingy." "Probably a good idea," said Tara, reading through everything and making some notes. "Okay, I'll take it from here then, and I like all your choices for her, Mandy. I've got all her sizes, so let's get started, Peyton. I think we'll stick with pink to start, since it'll match those darling ribbons you have in Sweetie." "Started?" said Peyton, frightened now. "Mandy, why don't you go? Because I see what you meant about the separation anxiety," said Tara, looking at her watch and waving over an instructor. "Yes, honey, we don't bite here. Trust me, you'll have so much fun, and after a little practice with one of my instructors, you'd be in with all the other girls your age in, let's say, maybe an hour." "Hi, Peyton," said a curvy redhead in a tight leotard as she came over to Peyton. "Bye, sweetie." "You're in good hands." Dr. Mullen blew him a kiss as she backed up and turned, making sure he was okay, looking over her shoulder as she left. "Kara, my little friend, Peyton is ready to get started." Tara handed Kara a sheet. "Kara will grab some stuff and take good care of you. She's the best at training our little rookies." "Come on, sweetie," said Kara, taking Peyton by the hand. "Don't worry, turning tomboys with 2 left feet into ballerinas is my specialty. Plus, you look way too cute to be much of a tomboy anyway." Peyton was having a heart attack as she dragged him through the back room filled with racks of costumes and shelves filled with boxes. She quickly grabbed a small package and led him into an adjacent fitting room. "I'll hang your dress," Kara told him, turning him and unbuttoning it. "You okay to change to your tights on your own?" Yes," Peyton answered, having little choice as Kara lifted the dress over his head. "Perfect, sweetie," said Kara as she helped him unbuckle his shoes and opened a package, handing him some new tights. "You do that and I'll be right back with your outfit. I have to get your size from our retail area." Being as cautious as he could be, he quickly found himself pulling on some pale pink tights before she returned. His eyes almost popped out of his head as she returned, kneeling in front of him and stretching open a pink leotard. He clenched his teeth, looking up at the sky, and within a second, he felt it stretch tightly between his legs as she grabbed his arms, sliding them into it. "It'll be fine, cutie." Don't get upset, said Kara, slipping on his shoes as she could see how upset he was getting. You already make a beautiful ballerina, and when I'm done with you, you'll be dancing up a storm. Kara took his hand, leading him into a huge open dance studio filled with plenty of other little girls. It was quite distracting seeing his reflection everywhere as he walked through the large room, which was lined with mirrors on each and every wall until they stopped at a small vacant section. It was all he could do not to throw up as he watched Kara begin to stretch, and he stared at himself now dressed as the little ballerina in the wall-to-ceiling mirror. He couldn't even bear staring at his reflection, looking down distracted for a moment that he had never been able to flex his toes in shoes like this before. Obviously this was part of what he was about to experience, he thought as he wiggled them in the block dance-soft pink ballet slippers he now had on his feet. He was familiar with the annoyance of tights as he had been in them all day, but the pale pink ones he had on now had just a touch of shimmer to them, distracting him even more. Okay, Peyton, said Kara as he looked up. Let's get you started. He gulped, seeing her strike a pose next to him, lifting her arms as he stared at her long lean body, sickened by the sight of himself. The tight pale pink glittery cami-style leotard that she had put him in clung like a second skin across his flat chest and skinny waist, leaving only his arms exposed through the single thin straps, which criss-crossed on the fairly open back. A small satin bow hung, attached to the neckline, adding a pretty detail, but what really made him sick was the attached 3-layer, 8-inch tulle tutu which completed his transformation to a little ballerina. He had little choice, following Kara's instructions with stretching and then practicing little positions. It seemed like forever as he did his best attempting what she asked, before she finally brought him into a small class of young girls in a private room. He didn't know whether it was better to just blend and was easier to be alone with Kara, as they drilled the same routine over and over. Finally, they took a break as he sat alone sipping some water as the other girls chatted. You doing tap and jazz too? Asked another little girl, breaking the ice. Or just ballet? How about lyrical? I'm not sure what you mean, replied Peyton. Oh, she's in tap and jazz on Tuesdays, and ballet today and Thursdays, said Kara, chiming in. Maybe we'll talk her parents into hip-hop and lyrical eventually, but let's get her through her first day, okay? That's so cool, then maybe we'll be in recitals together, the girl answered before walking away. You're doing so well, Peyton, said Kara. Time for your first solo. Just do everything exactly how you learned it. Peyton was very nervous, being put on the spot as Kara switched on the music. She gave him a little nudge as he began dancing, twisting and turning and taking a few steps. He did his best trying to remember each little move and then ended with a beautiful pirouette as Kara was very excited. Wonderful, said Kara, hugging him as she waved at the door. He was surprised as his brother walked in, closing his phone and smirking at him as he looked up feeling embarrassed. Wow, impressive for one day, said Brett, trying not to laugh. She is, said Kara, extending her hand. She's a quick learner. Are you her dad? Yes, I'm Brett. Brett shook her hand. Is she all done? I hope she cooperated today. Nice to meet you too, said Kara, walking over to her purse and taking out her card. I'm so looking forward to working with her, and she did wonderfully today. She was a pleasure and certainly a quick learner. It appears she comes from a nimble and flexible athletic family. Oh, definitely. Brett smiled. Okay, well, I'm going to go and get you her other outfits for next week, and I've got some practice instructions for her to work on at home, said Kara, writing on a sheet and smiling at him. I wrote down my cell if you have any questions when she practices at home. Remember next time she comes to have her in her tap shoes, and it's no problem if you need me to stop by if she needs help with anything. I realize you two are on your own, so I know how awkward it would be for you to help her. It's no problem for me to stop by. Thanks, I'll certainly give you a call, said Brett, shaking her hand softly. Maybe we can talk tomorrow? I'll look forward to that, Kara flirted as she handed Peyton's things to Brett. Brett had his hands full with bags and also carried Peyton's dress from earlier. Please tell me there's no more, said Peyton, feeling beaten as he got to the car. You're done for today, Twinkle Toes, teased Brett as they drove off. Oh, thank goodness, replied Peyton, closing his eyes. I'm even too tired to curse you out. Where's the doctor? Aren't you shacking up again? She got called in for an emergency, said Brett. So we're headed home, my little ballerina. Yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow, said Peyton, giving him the finger and leaning back. As Brett turned the next corner, he looked in the rear-view mirror, laughing to himself, seeing nothing but two pigtails hanging forward, slowly swaying as his brother was passed out, exhausted. He carried him into the house and put him to bed, stripping off his leotard before closing the lights. In the morning, Peyton woke up stretching and sat up in bed. It didn't take long for a distressing feeling to flow through his body as he rubbed eyes, feeling one of his pigtails slap him in the cheek, immediately knowing yesterday wasn't a bad dream. He flipped off the covers, stepping out of bed, and was annoyed seeing his legs covered in a long multi-pink flowing nightgown. He approached his dresser, seeing the Barbie decal at the center of his chest in the small mirror and becoming infuriated as he stormed from his room. He could hear banging in the kitchen as he angrily entered, but stopped dead in his tracks at seeing a woman at the stove. Oh, good morning, honey. Jan turned and greeted him as she flipped pancakes. I'm so glad you like those pigtails. I see you kept them in and slept in them. Good morning, said Peyton, giving his brother a look as he shrugged his shoulders, sitting there sipping coffee. Pancakes, dear? Asked Jan, giving him a plate. Sure, I guess, answered Peyton, being extremely hungry from yesterday. So sleeping with your hair up like that does keep it from getting naughty, but I'm glad you did take out my bows, even though I really love them on you. Jan gave him a pouty lip look. So, thanks again, said Brett, getting up and kissing her. Last night was wonderful, and you're sure about today, right? Absolutely, said Jan, returning the kiss and giving a loving rub against Brett's chest. You behave for Jan today, sweetie, said Brett, turning and walking away. You're leaving? Peyton was surprised. We're all leaving, said Brett, giving him a stern look. We're having some work done here by our contractor, and I have important business to attend to today. Peyton, please honey, said Jan, looking at him annoyed. I thought we were past this after our little chat yesterday. Now let your dad get to his business. Don't worry, today will be all about fun anyway. Be thankful you've got a dad that got up and ran to the Target, getting you a new suit while we both got our beauty rest. Now go change so we can go have some fun. Your clothes are laid out in my bathroom, said Brett, looking at his watch. Get a move on so I can make sure you look appropriate before I run out. Peyton headed upstairs as Brett heard the door slam. He waited a few minutes and then knocked, knowing he would be pissed. Fuck you, Brett, said Peyton through the door. You're way out of control. First the dentist, and now the hair lady from the supermarket. I'm not doing this today. Get changed right now, said Brett through the door. You damn well are, or I'll find something twice as bad. All you'll be doing is hanging out in her backyard in her pool, so get out here and let me make sure everything is covered up in this. Brett could hear all the ruffling and crumpling of bags until he heard the door unlock. Please, Brett. I can't go out like this, whined Peyton, opening the door as Brett giggled at seeing Peyton. Please don't make me. I'd rather have Dad just kill me, or punish me for the rest of my life. No, you wouldn't, and I have a sundress that goes over this downstairs. Now let me tie it properly, said Brett, turning his brother's shoulders and adjusting a strap on his back. I love ruffles. They really do hide everything. Now come on, let's show Jan how cute you look and say thank you, since she ironed your sundress for you. Peyton couldn't believe he'd be leaving the house like this, looking down at his long exposed legs in his new swimsuit. His flat chest was covered by his new maroon polka dot bikini top, which his brother double knotted in the back, and at the bottom the series of ruffles covered his matching full brief cut bottom and hid away anything they didn't want seen. Phew, phew, said Jan, running over and hugging him as they came in the room. That's so cute on you, Peyton. Spin for me, sweetie. Fits perfect, right? Brett was pleased with his choice as Peyton turned red with embarrassment. It does. Now don't be late, babe, said Jan, slapping Brett's ass and kissing him goodbye. I'll take good care of her and I'll get her to Francesca later. Don't worry. Enjoy, girls, and behave for Jan, please, Brett ordered, giving his brother a stern look as he walked out the front door. Sit here, honey. Finish your milk and give me a minute, said Jan, grabbing her pocketbook and rummaging through it. We're not in a rush. I want to brush out all the hairspray and let's do a little something here. You could use a little maintenance, honey. Jan pulled a little nail kit from her purse, taking out a small clipper and an emery board. Without saying a word, she took his left hand as he sat drinking his milk with his right hand. Nails are not my thing, Jan, said Peyton, making a fist and pulling his hand away. I'm fine. I'm not taking you out like this, with these dirty nails. Jan pulled back his hand. Remember our talk from yesterday? Yes, said Peyton as Jan looked him right in the eyes. Sorry. We're starting to understand each other much better now, aren't we, young lady? Jan slid open his fingers and placed them on the table as she clicked on the television. Just watch some cartoons and let me work a little. He sat there quietly as she worked, trimming and filing his nails, as he glanced down every few minutes seeing how she had evened out and rounded his short nails. It wasn't bad at first, when she was finally finished the other hand, as they looked neat and clean. But he smelled something odd and looked down, watching as she was carefully coated his nails in a salmon pink. There wasn't much he could do about it as she leaned in, blowing on his fingers and then stretching out his other hand, working quickly. It was appalling seeing his two hands palmed down and spread wide on the table as she lifted his knees, turning her attention to his toes. It was very distracting feeling his toes separated by tissues, but before the SpongeBob episode was over, she was finished with his feet. How much more could they do to him, he thought, while she jumped around applying a few layers of clear coat to the salmon pink glaze that now covered his fingers and toes. It's all quick dry, honey, but stay put until I get back, said Jan, putting everything away and getting up. I'm just going to change and we'll get out of here soon. So you like the color? It's pretty, right? It's colorful, all right. Peyton shook his head. It's versatile, said Jan from the next room as she changed. I didn't have a similar color to match your suit in my bag, but a pink like that is better for a girl your age. Plus, I've heard you really love pink. Peyton's eyes were rolling around in his head until he was caught off guard as Jan stepped back into the room in a bronze string bikini. Her tan body was simply amazing in the string bikini as she lifted her long blonde hair up with both hands, tying in a scrunchie to create a ponytail. She then lifted her arms as he could barely take his eyes off her big and obviously fake boobs, sliding a long white sundress over her head before slipping on some flip-flops. She walked over checking his nails, which were completely dry now, and then took his dress from a hanger. Hands up, hon. Jan slid his sundress over his suit and tossed him some flip-flops on the floor. Take that stuff out. Your toes are dry. Jan undid his left pigtail, brushing through it over and over while he removed the tissue paper from between his toes. He slipped into the flip-flops as she retied it and repeated brushing on the other side. Between her teeth were two more bands as she returned, twisting his hair on the left before taking one of the scrunchies and winding it in and then wound on the right. Okay, let's go pick up Johnny. Jan snapped in the last band and then pushed sunglasses on his face. Better like this so it doesn't get too naughty if you want to swim. Jan loaded her arms with her overnight bag, pocketbook, and towel bag and then handed 2 bags to Peyton to carry. He was barely functioning, carrying all that she gave him, looking down at pink nails shining from his fingers and listening to the snapping of his flip-flops as he walked. He got a quick view of his new look in the hallway mirror as he paused before exiting, staring at himself. He was no longer stunned by his face, centering his eyes on his floppy high pigtails, but this time they were French braided on each side and held in place under red and yellow sunflower scrunchies, instead of bows. In a way, it was better to see himself in the maroon and gold tube-top sundress which hung loosely across his slender figure, as at least it hid his bikini, which was covered up. He sat in the back as Jan drove, making a quick pit stop. To his dismay, he was soon joined in the back by her son who had slept at her ex-husband's the previous night. It was mostly Jan making conversation with both of them as they sat quietly while she chatted on her cell phone. "I'm sorry, guys. We'll have to scrap the pool." Jan hung up. "That was the pool guy, and our filter is shot and backed up everything into the water. He said it's pretty nasty." "Oh, that's too bad, and I was so looking forward to trying out my new swimsuit," said Peyton, feeling immediate relief. "I'm sorry, honey," said Jan, pulling over and turning around looking at them. "I feel terrible." "That sucks, Mom," Johnny piped in. "I have something to change out of this, right?" Peyton smirked. "Maybe we can play your video games again?" "Mom." Johnny folded his arms, getting really annoyed as Peyton was enjoying Johnny's little tantrum. "You know I do for later, Peyton, but you won't need to change right now," said Jan, making a U-turn. "I'm got everything in the trunk, so a change in plans. We're hitting the beach. Doesn't that sound like more fun?" "Yes, definitely," said Johnny, excited now as Peyton's stomach dropped even further. When they got there, he sat under her large beach umbrella while she read and Johnny ran in and out of the surf. He was biding his time, hopeful they'd be out of there soon, seeing how strange it was kicking sand between painted toes. "Okay, no more Peyton," said Jan, folding up her book. "Don't you like the water? Do you know how to swim?" "Oh, I do," said Peyton. "I'm just not in the mood. I'm fine right here." "No, you're not," said Jan, taking off her glasses and heading down towards the water. "Johnny, come here please." "Yeah, Mom," said Johnny. "Honey, you're being rude." "You're ignoring our guest," said January, hands up Peyton. "No, I'm fine," said Peyton. "Let Johnny go have fun." "No, it's not," replied Jan, lifting Peyton's sundress right over his head without hesitation. She opened her bag, now spraying sunscreen all over Peyton, and then rubbed it in. Then she lifted each pigtail, spraying it, and then held her hand over his eyes, spraying the rest of his head. She closed her umbrella and got between the kids, taking them by the hand, leading them towards the water. Peyton was mortified at being dragged down the beach in his little bikini. The ocean was cold as she dragged them in, as he quickly forgot what he was even wearing, enjoying the waves. "Okay, much better. Now you two have some fun," said Jan, joining their hands. "Okay, Mom," said Johnny, pulling Peyton into the ocean as they were pelted by waves, getting soaked. It was weird being led around by Johnny, until the mood lightened with Peyton hysterically laughing as a wave wiped out Johnny, breaking his grip. "It's not that funny," said Johnny, getting up and stunning Peyton, pushing him over and into the wave. As Peyton got up, soaked from head to toe, Johnny ran back to his mother, wiping his face with a towel. He returned with a frisbee as they played catch on the beach, finally having fun without incident. After another hour, Jan was calling them to pack up as they came back, getting dried and redressed. They climbed into the car, having had a pretty good time. You catch pretty good for a girl, said Johnny, trying to make conversation in the back as they drove. Thanks, so do you, cracked Peyton. It was nice to see you smile, Peyton, said Jan as they pulled up at her house. Now I'll get you settled for a shower in my bathroom while Johnny goes to his. We can't dilly-dally you two, okay? They nodded, following Jan inside. Johnny went off to his room and Jan brought Peyton to hers. She handed him a few towels and showed him to her bathroom. Use the body wash in the beige container and then my shampoo and conditioner in my shower, said Jan, closing the door and placing his panties on the vanity and hanging a bathrobe on the towel rack. Just put on my bathrobe and I'll dry your hair. It'll be huge on you, but do the trick so you don't soak your outfit, and then when we're done you can get dressed. Call me if you need any help. Peyton lifted the sundress over his head and then turned on the shower. He was thankful his little beach day was over as he stared at his polka-dot bikini-clad little body, realizing at his age there wasn't much difference yet in body shape. He put his hands on his hips, seeing nothing but a cute little girl with bright nails and braided pigtails, amazed in a way that he could pull this off even if he was pissed at his brother. He was at least happy to watch his pink fingernails reach up and pull the scrunchies from his hair, feeling the tangles as he unwound the braids. He smirked seeing how wild and wavy his hair looked like now and reached backwards, untying the strings of his top. Oh crap, spouted Peyton, seeing his reflection as he dropped off his top. You okay in there? Jan asked, knocking on the door, hearing him cry out. I'm fine, Peyton panicked, as he dropped off his bottom and got in the shower. Just some sunburn. I'll be out soon. Okay, just make sure there's no sand in your hair, sweetie, said January. He broke down, weeping for a moment as he scrubbed himself with her flowery-smelling body wash, unable to stop looking down at the little white triangles across his chest. He obviously didn't realize how strong the sun was on this cloudy day, doing his best to try to scrub off some of his tan to no avail. He shampooed and conditioned his hair as he was told and got out, barely able to concentrate as he stared at his reflection, stunned at his new tan lines, until he heard Jan knock. I'm coming, shouted Peyton, jumping into the panties and pulling on the robe. Is it bad, your sunburn? Jan asked, checking for herself as she pulled the robe off his shoulders. No, I'm fine, said Peyton. Where's the blow dryer? Oh stop honey, said Jan, pulling out the chair at her vanity. Sit and I'll help you of course. Let me do something cute. Your dad's had a busy day, and Francesca is stuck at her other job, so I'll be watching you until later, sweetie. Are you kidding? Asked Peyton. I thought you were having fun with me and Johnny, said Jan, surprised, as she wrapped a towel over his shoulders. Oh, I'm sorry, said Peyton, rolling his eyes as she began brushing his hair. Of course you've been great to me. I just feel bad putting you out. Oh please, Jan gave him a little hug. I love my son, but I'm always stuck with boys. It's fun having a little girl around to spoil sometimes. Oh great, mumbled Peyton under his breath as she was continuously spraying a thick solution into his hair as she brushed it. She twisted and tugged at section after section, feeling the tension at his scalp as he wondered what she was doing, as he couldn't see anything, having his head turned away from her mirror as she worked from behind him. Finally, she came out in front, taking her brush to his bangs, and then he was completely caught off guard, seeing two pink rollers in her hand as she quickly wound them into his bangs. Now you relax while it dries, while I check on Johnny, said Jan, walking over to her closet and taking out a large silver metallic case. She opened it as he watched her unfold it and was stunned, seeing her stretch a plastic cap with an attached tube up towards his head. He had no idea they even had devices like this as she stretched the elastic over his head and switched on the air. It was stranger than he even imagined, feeling the hot air cooking his head as he sat there as she came and left her room several times, paying him little mind as she seemed to be doing many little things around the house. Finally, after what seemed like a good half hour, the dryer switched off on its own and she returned, lifting off the cap. She then checked his head, nodding as she stood up and quickly folded it away. "Go change, Peyton, and then I'll brush your hair out." "It's dry," said Jan, feeling different spots on his head. "Your hair is fine, so it should hold pretty well. Let's get a move on, dear." He went into the bathroom and was pretty surprised seeing the series of elaborate braids that now circled his head. It was even stranger seeing the little pink curlers tightly rolled in his bangs, but he knew she'd be knocking momentarily, so he took his clothes from the hanger. It was almost to be expected, being annoyed seeing his dress, as he unzipped it and pulled it over his head. The second he walked out of her bathroom, Jan was waiting as she spun him around and zipped up the back. She led him back to her chair and sat in front of him with a wide toothpick, brush and her hairspray, wasting not a second working on him, as she quickly began unraveling the braids. She kept lifting and spraying over and over from behind and then brushed almost violently, gathering the hair at his crown behind his bangs, pulling tightly as he heard a clip snap into place. "Mom, are you girls almost ready?" asked Johnny as he came in. "I can't be late." 2 minutes, Johnny, answered Jan with her hands over Peyton's eyes, picking and spraying at his bangs. "Go wait in the car." "I'm almost done with her hair." "I'm sorry, but we are not leaving until it is perfect." "Fine," said Johnny, annoyed, as finally Jan stepped back, checking her work. "Not all of us can throw on a baseball cap and be ready," said Jan, kneeling and slipping some little white sandals on his feet. "Look down, sweetie. Your hair turned out so pretty, and the tone is much more summery now. It was a good day for you. You got some color, and now some gorgeous highlights." "Highlights?" whined Peyton. "Well, highlights in a bottle, sweetie, but they're subtle," Jan told him. "Just some sun in, and it makes you a little blonder and brings out your natural highlights. Okay, come on, honey, before he throws a tizzy fit." "He gets crazy when he gets hungry," said Peyton as they walked downstairs. "I know you got me all dressed, but eating inside is fine." "Sorry, I know you're hungry," said Jan, tossing a brush and some hairspray into a little white pocketbook and handing it to Peyton. "I'll get you chicken fingers or a hot dog when we get there." "You eat that, right?" "Yeah, that's fine," said Peyton. "Where are we going?" "Come on, get in and we'll talk on the ride," said Jan, opening the door as he saw Johnny in the back seat. "It's his big game tonight. I'm sure growing up with your dad, you love baseball." Jan gave him a little nudge as he climbed in, stunned to see Johnny in his baseball uniform as she belted him in and closed the door. Immediately he was fuming, instantly realizing it was Sunday and he had a game today too, as Jan began driving. "We're going to Little League?" asked Peyton nervously. "Is my dad picking me up there?" "I think so," said January. "I'm waiting to hear back from him, so I'm not sure when." "Wait, I'm watching the game with you?" said Peyton. "In the stands?" "Yes, until he gets there anyway. It's so much fun watching them play. Trust me, I know you think it's boring for you now, but before you know it, you'll love watching cute boys play," said Jan, looking in the rear-view mirror at them. "Maybe you'll bring him good luck. His team always loses." "Wonder why?" mumbled Peyton. "I've seen him throw." "What was that, honey?" said Jan, straining to hear him. "You like your bow?" "Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying?" Peyton giggled. "I love that one too," replied Jan as she parked. "Plus, you two look adorable together. How funny is it that you match like a cute little couple?" Johnny and Peyton leaned back, their necks looking up and down at each other, realizing Jan was right as they were both in aqua and white as they got out of the car. Johnny was dressed in an aqua baseball jersey with white lettering and white pants. His baseball cap was in matching aqua, as were his high socks, and under his jersey he had on a white three-quarter undershirt. Peyton, to his dismay, was dressed cute as a button as always in an aqua A-line dress with white polka dots, absolutely looking like he coordinated his outfit to match Johnny's. The stunning aqua blue taffeta dress had a summer sleeveless cut as he felt the cool breeze of the ballpark up his skirt, instantly thinking about how he'd be sitting holding the shorter tee-length loosely pleated skirt in the bleachers as they walked. Around his waist, the dress was belted with a faux white leather attached belt with a large round buckle, and his feet were in white open-toed flat sandals. In front his bangs had been lifted and curled under, twisting toward the left slightly, making them appear much shorter as they sat slightly teased now on his forehead. Behind his hair was pulled back tightly before a huge white bow tie-type bow held it neatly off his crown and ears. He realized why his hair had been dried in all the tight braids now, as once they were let out the back, they sat in thick S-waves across his shoulders, looking like he had a body wave. "The sun really dried you out, sweetie," said Jan, opening her purse and rubbing a little gloss on his lips. "Keep this, it's an extra." Jan opened his little pocketbook and dropped the tube of lip gloss in his mostly empty white purse, as the other mother began babbling while Peyton instantly tasted the strawberry flavor. He was obviously overdressed for a ball game as Jan was in jeans, but it didn't take long to realize she enjoyed showing him off as she met some other mothers, who instantly swooned over him. "How cute is this one," said a mom. "What a fashionable young lady you are, dear." "Say thank you, Peyton," said Jan, dragging him into the bleachers with her. "Thanks," whispered Peyton. "I can't say I picked this dress for her, but it just worked out perfect." Jan smiled. "It did," said the woman as Jan sat with her arm around him, rubbing his back. "Taffeta works well in places like this anyway, as these dresses do well preventing stains. Plus, the color is brilliant and I love the cut on her, January." "We finally have a little cheerleader," said another mother. "How cute." "Thank you," replied Jan, enjoying the flattery. "She's so precious, this one. It's so easy to make her look adorable." "I didn't know you had a daughter, Jan," said another woman. "I don't, Candace. It's my new boyfriend's daughter," said January. "She's been with me all day, and the kids enjoy each other's company. She watches baseball with her father, so I figured she'd enjoy watching Johnny play." "I would," mumbled Peyton. "She looks so familiar to me," said Candace, staring at him as Peyton instantly got nervous. "Do you have a brother that plays here, sweetie?" "No, she's an only child," said Jan, squeezing his cheeks and teasing him. "Maybe you're mistaking her for a child actress with these looks." "Wait, I recognize you now." Candace smiled. "You do?" mumbled Peyton, ready to pee his pants. "Did you just start dance school?" said the Candace. "She did," said January. "I remember seeing you yesterday," said Candace. "She's in my daughter's class. You looked so adorable in your pink tutu. You'll be in recital together, I think." "Can I go get something to eat?" said Peyton, feeling faint and embarrassed. "I feel really lightheaded." "Here, dear." "I'm so sorry." "You're probably starving," said Jan, taking out some money. "Go get yourself some food and don't get dirty, sweetie." As Peyton took the money and walked toward the concession stand, he looked up, seeing his coach and entire team walking towards him. He quickly turned away, panicking as he thought he had just dodged being recognized, hearing some of them behind him. He was ready to run off but figured that might be worse, and quietly ordered in his softest voice. He took his food and walked away, avoiding any eye contact, his hands full as he hurried off. "Excuse me, little girl," yelled the teen behind the counter. "You forgot your change." "He's calling you, sweetie," said a nearby mother, gently grabbing his arm as he wasn't stopping. His stomach dropped to the floor as he turned back towards the counter. "Thanks," said Peyton, petrified as he took his change, thinking they might have seen him. He looked down, avoiding eye contact, but as he turned he realized his teammates gave him nothing more than a quick glance and didn't recognize him, caring only about baseball and not girls at this age. He wasted no time hurrying back to the safety of the bleachers before anyone could get a better look at him as he sat back down with Jan, eating. He couldn't believe what he was about to watch as these last few days were a blur, realizing he was supposed to be pitching against Johnny's team and not sitting in a dress in the stands. His head was spinning, feeling relieved that he wasn't recognized, but on the other hand possibly feeling worse, that no one was questioning that he wasn't a little girl. He watched the game, quietly rooting as his team was playing so poorly, using a fill-in pitcher instead of him. In the last inning, Peyton's team was winning by 1 run with the tying run on third as up came Johnny. "Oh no," said Jan, clutching Peyton. "He's already struck out twice. Please, please let him do something." "No chance," mumbled Peyton to himself as Johnny stepped up. "He bats last for a reason." As the pitch was inside, Johnny jumped back, afraid of being hit like a big sissy himself, and the ball hit his bat. He looked down, seeing the coach screaming to run, and took off towards first base. Peyton was chuckling until the unthinkable happened, as Johnny was running and blocked the first baseman's vision and the ball sailed down the line. He kept running towards second and turned for third as they threw to get him out. "No way," screamed Peyton, standing up as he had a great view, watching a perfect throw hit Johnny in the shoulder as he was running out of the baseline and rebound into the stands. He couldn't believe what he was witnessing as Johnny was waved around to score and won the game on what was no more than an accidental bunt. The managers were arguing to no avail, as Johnny was being mobbed by his teammates. "Yes way," screamed his mother, hugging Peyton. "He did it. We finally won a game. My little Johnny did it." Jan and the other fans were jumping up and down excitedly, as finally Johnny came running over after a few minutes with a ball. "I got the game ball, Mom," said Johnny as his mother hugged and kissed him. "I did it. I hit a home run to win the game." "Home run?" mumbled Peyton. "Wasn't that a bunt, with like 3 errors?" "No, that's a home run." "I'll teach you baseball, Peyton," said Johnny, stunning Peyton as he kissed him right on the lips and then hugged him. "Mom, she's my good luck charm. Can we bring her to every game?" "We'll ask her dad, honey," replied Jan, again hugging her son. "She is obviously a good luck charm for you, but I'm not sure little girls love baseball that much. She didn't even understand that was a home run, honey." "I know, but I love having a fan here to root for me," said Johnny, licking his lips and then smiling. "Plus, she smells nice and tastes like strawberries." "Let's go celebrate," said Jan, taking them by the hands. Peyton was thrilled to be leaving as she brought them to the nearby ice cream parlor. Finally, Peyton was relieved seeing his brother come in and pick him up. He pulled Jan aside and they shared some private laughter and a soft kiss, then he dragged Peyton outside. "Hey sweetie," said a voice as he got into the back seat. "Kara," said Peyton. "What are you doing here?" "Oh, your dad and I spent some time together just discussing a few things. You know, just boring adult stuff." "I thought she'd give you an extra lesson tonight at home," Brett chimed in. "That's unless you were too tired from everything today." "Oh, I'm exhausted," Peyton said immediately, catching on, plus having no desire to dance. "I'm just going to head right to bed when we get home." "I thought so," said Brett, smiling at Kara as they drove. They all walked in the house and Brett immediately grabbed his little brother by the hand, taking him upstairs after he made Peyton hug Kara goodnight. "So listen, you little brat." Brett grabbed him by the arm right outside his room upstairs. I've got an amazing thing going here, and I'm going to keep it going for the next 2 weeks until Dad gets home. If you know what's good for you, you'll just keep playing the part until then." 2 weeks, you are insane, yelped Peyton. "I can't. It's too much. I can't keep doing this." "Sure you can, and you will," replied Brett sternly as he opened Peyton's bedroom door. "Now go in there and put on the nightgown that Kara was nice enough to bring you as a gift. She'll be up in 5 minutes to tuck you in, and make sure you tell her how much you love the curtains. She picked them today." "Holy crap," replied Peyton, tearing up. "You are way out of control." Brett shoved Peyton into his newly painted pink room. All his sports figures and posters had been ripped down and his room made over to look like a little girl's. Sitting on his dresser were teddy bears and dolls, and on his windows were white frilly curtains. "Relax, all your stuff is in boxes and locked away," said Brett, unzipping the back of his dress. "I got all the stuff cheap at a garage sale to make it look authentic. Now hurry up and get changed, as Kara and I need some time alone." Peyton gave his brother the finger as he exited the room. He was aggravated as he changed, slipping the multicolored nightgown over his head and looking down at the Bratz logo. He sat on the edge of the bed, hearing the soft knock as Kara came in. After some small talk, she unclipped the bow from his head and hugged him before tucking him under the blanket and returning downstairs to his brother as Peyton was quickly off to sleep. Chapter 3. Peyton woke up, looked over at his alarm clock and realized he had overslept. He jumped out of bed and ran into his father's room, seeing Brett passed out. "Wake up!" "Are you alone?" said Peyton. "We overslept." "Kara's left early this morning," said Brett. "Go back to bed." "I'll already late for school," said Peyton, shaking him. "Get up. You need to drive me and I need some help. How am I getting this nail polish off and these earrings out?" "Enjoy the benefits while they last, sissy boy," Brett replied, rolling over. "Did you forget my brother's been kicked out of school? Now go back to bed, or just play video games or something." "Oh crap," Peyton realized as he walked downstairs. He looked down at his pink toes from under his long nightgown and shrugged his shoulders, grabbing some milk and cereal. It wasn't that bad, he thought, playing video games all day, until finally it was mid-afternoon when his brother wandered down. "Can I at least have some of my clothes while we're at home hanging out?" asked Peyton, killing some soldiers in his video game. "I could use a break from all of this. It's 3 o'clock, and I've been in a nightgown all day." "Your break is relaxing all day, when you should be in school this last week," said Brett. "Your clothes are in storage because there is no way am I taking a chance of you screwing up this good thing I've got going on." Brett ate and then sat chatting on the phone with girl after girl. After an hour or so, he walked back in the living room with some clothes, tossing them next to Peyton and clicking off the television. "Get dressed," Brett demanded, pulling Peyton's nightgown over his head. "Francine will be here to sit you soon." "You're kidding, right?" Peyton complained. "You're going out again?" "Damn right I am," answered Brett, pushing a royal blue glittery long tunic over his head. "Now put your arms through and pull on your pants." "Brett, come on," Peyton pleaded as Brett pulled his arms through. "This is 3 days in a row. Doesn't your body need a break?" "Yeah, in 2 weeks I'll take one," said Brett as Peyton pulled on his white capri pants. "In the meantime, just shut up and act all cute and girly. Or would you rather go to the beach and work on those tan lines again?" Peyton was steaming as Brett grabbed him under the chin, brushing through his bangs and then pushed back all his messy waves behind his ears with a thick headband. He tossed him his white sandals, hearing the doorbell ring, and he answered it, hugging Francine. "Hey girlfriend," said Francine, coming inside with a few bags and hugging him. "Ready for some fun?" "Oh, of course she is," said Brett. So Francine, we're good for Mondays and Wednesdays, right? Yup, we're set for the next 2 weeks, said Francine. Just remember I can't do Dr. Mullen's days off, though. Oh, that's fine. She'll be in dance on Tuesdays and Thursdays, plus I'm working on activities on the weekends, replied Brett, enjoying watching his brother boil inside before heading out. Have fun, you two. Oh, I love this color on you. You look adorable with the wavy hair and your nails done. Francine took his left hand. Come on, let's play some games. Francine took out some crafts and they began making bracelets and necklaces. Peyton knew right then it was going to be a long 2 weeks, knowing full well his brother must have arranged for every one of his waking moments to be with one hot girl after another. Somehow he made it through the week, and as Friday rolled around, Peyton was mentally exhausted. He had played dolls and girls games with Francine while she sat with him, and made it through 2 long grueling dance classes, figuring how much worse could the weekend be? Crap, get dressed. Brett raced into the house, startling Peyton as he played video games. We're already late. For what? Asked Peyton. I didn't even know you weren't here. Jan will be here any second for you, said Brett, tossing some shorts and a tank top at him. Hurry up. Peyton shrugged and slipped on the little peach shorts and then was pretty sickened seeing the white and peach frilly long shirt, which he dropped over his head. His brother quickly snapped his feet into some little socks and followed them with some white sneakers with peach laces. It all happened so quickly, like he was sleepwalking through it until he was instantly awakened, screaming in pain as his brother did his best trying to make pigtails and pulling them tightly behind the scrunchies. You're killing me, screamed Peyton as his brother was brushing and tugging trying to get them in. Stop, please. I'll do it myself. Luckily for Peyton, the doorbell rang and Jan came in, hugging him and chuckling. I can't even take her outside looking like this, teased Jan as she kissed Brett. Next time, just leave it until I get here. Where are the clips that go with this outfit? In the bag I guess, said Brett, unsure. Oh, these are so cute, Jan said as she unwound the crooked, uneven pigtails and took a brush to Peyton's hair as it hung loosely. Peyton looked over, seeing a series of bows and clips attached to a piece of cardboard packaging as Jan was brushing. How did you even survive taking care of her hair before myself and Francine? Did you send her to school every day looking like a mess? Said January. Pretty much, replied Brett, smiling as she sprayed Peyton's hair, dampening it. Just learn a little braiding. It's not that tough for dads. It can be done with wet or dry hair and can be twisted to the bottom like a French braid, or done with just a portion of the hair and then pinned back, said Jan as she brushed back and forth, parting Peyton's hair in the middle. Just watch me as these are really cute, and with her face any type of pigtails work on her if you keep them neat. Jan began on the right and took a few small sections between her fingers. It was a new annoying feeling for Peyton as he felt little hairs being pulled at times, as the tension was beginning in the front right side as she worked. Like I would have any chance of doing that, said Brett as she finished the right and selected a band from the packaging before winding it in. Oh, stop. It's easy. Jan demonstrated on the left side and secured the end. Create your part and then collect the little sections and add it to the braid. You must twist it tightly within that strand, before you rope it and collect hair into the next strand.